Well, Senate Republicans met earlier this afternoon. In fact, I think they're still meeting to discuss with President Trump his one big, beautiful bill, kicking off what the GOP hopes will be a month-long sprint that will end with the president's signature on July the 4th. Now, there's been a lot that has been said over the last 2 weeks since it passed through the House, and they've got a lot to navigate through. And a key concern has been that's been expressed is that the need for more cuts. Well, before Congress returned this week, I discussed some of the more nuanced elements of the bill with House Speaker Mike Johnson on our weekend program this week on Capitol Hill. And because of all that's being said today, in fact, I was on the Hill earlier today meeting with the Speaker and others, I'd like to share part of that discussion with you before I go to our next guest. So here's part of that conversation from this weekend. This week, you laid out a way forward to kind of satisfy that appetite for cuts with codifying some of the DOGE recommendations.
Yeah, that's right. And Stephen Miller in the White House and others have pointed out to some of the folks who said, why aren't more of the DOGE cuts in the reconciliation package? You have to remember how the process works. DOGE was looking at discretionary savings. There are two categories of federal spending. One is mandatory spending. One is discretionary. The reconciliation package is dealing with the first category, not the latter. So it was not possible, literally under the rules of the Senate, for us to put DOGE cuts in large measure in the reconciliation package. So that means it has to be a separate instrument. The way it works is that the White House sends to us a rescissions package, rescinding, basically clawing back money that Congress had already appropriated but was misspent in a number of ways. We've been waiting on those calculations. It took a while to do it. Remember, I mean, there was no playbook for what Elon Musk and DOGE were doing. They didn't have a set of procedures to follow. They had to create them as they went. So they had to qualify and then quantify, and now we're ready to codify the changes. So I'm heartened to know that on Tuesday of this next week, the White House will send us the first of what we believe will be several rescissions packages. And this one, everybody's heard by now, is more than $9 billion. And it goes after some of the fraud, waste, and abuse. And I think that's a really important step.
Yeah, I think as the White House has noted in this first rescissions package, we'll be looking at cuts to USAID as well as cuts to NPR and PBS.
Yeah, that's right. And a lot of analysis has gone into this, and there's a lot of public scrutiny, rightfully, that has been applied to this. I mean, this is one of the things that's so revolutionary about what DOGE has accomplished, what Elon accomplished with his efforts. And you know, this week on Friday was his last day in office and in his position at DOGE. But the work will go forward and continue, because what he's done is he's brought a spotlight into these agencies, into these bureaucracies that we were never able to see. We got a perspective on it that Congress was never allowed because the bureaucracy was hiding so much data. I mean, Tony, we didn't know, obviously, that Congress was funding transgender operas in Peru and all these other crazy things that were happening under USAID. Elon found it because he cracked the code. He got inside the belly of the beast with his algorithms, and he uncovered it. And we've got to wipe it out. And so this is the first of many steps forward to bring more accountability and efficiency and effectiveness to government spending.
Elon Musk's tenure as special government employee officially ended on Friday, and he announced his departure from the Department of Government Efficiency earlier in the week. But before he did this interview last weekend with CBS.
I was disappointed to see the massive spending bill, frankly, which increases the budget deficit, not just decrease it, and undermines the work that the DOGE team is doing. I think a bill can be big or it can be beautiful, but I don't know if it can be both. My personal opinion.
Mr. Speaker, can something be both big and beautiful? And of course, I'm referring to legislation.
Yes, of course it can. As soon as I saw that interview several days ago, I sent a long text message to my good friend Elon to explain to him and make sure that he understands that he was looking at analysis of the bill that was not accurate, right? Everybody's been talking about the CBO analysis of in the Joint Tax Committee of our bill. The CBO is historically inaccurate. It's run by Democrats. There was an analysis that came out a few weeks ago where it showed that 84% of the number crunchers at the Congressional Budget Office are partisan Democrats. They're donors to people like Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. They're not going to give us a fair score. But the important thing to remember about this is that they do not use dynamic scoring. They use static scoring. In layman's terms, all that means is they don't give us any credit for the growth. Tony, the big, beautiful bill is going to be jet fuel to the U.S. economy. It is a pro-growth economy builder. It's going to lower tax rates, lower regulations, incentivize U.S. manufacturing again. When that happens, we know what will be the effect. We already did this in the first Trump administration, had the greatest economy in the history of the world after the first 2 years, because we cut taxes and cut regulations. Now we're doing it on steroids. So the tremendous growth that will be achieved by this is being totally discounted by CBO. They're saying it will add to the deficit. It's not true. By our calculations, we're going to reduce the deficit because of all the growth that will be stimulated. Just watch and see. The critics are going to be wrong. And I wanted to make sure Elon understood that. Well, this is not a spending bill, right?
Look, I understand. Look, we've had a lot of challenges over the years with legacy media, but we still have challenges even with conservative platforms. I mean, Elon Musk has a huge platform when you look at X, and you know, the business and government doesn't function the same way. Now, can we improve government? And I think you gave tremendous attaboys to him in the last segment in what DOGE has accomplished. But there is still an understanding that there are some aspects of government that just doesn't work like business.
Well, that's right. And we ought to endeavor to try to make government work more like a business, but it's just simply two different animals. So we need to bring those principles to bear. We need to bring good financial stewardship. We need to restore fiscal sanity. DOGE has taken us a long way in that direction, but that effort will continue. The Republicans are in charge right now. We're the fiscal conservatives, the fiscally responsible people, and we are going to whittle down the nation's debt and get us back on sound footing. But we've got to do it one step at a time. And I'm really proud of this product, and I think a lot of the analysis is completely off, and it will be proven and shown to be true in the days ahead.
All right, that was my conversation with House Speaker Mike Johnson over the weekend on my weekend program, This Week on Capitol Hill, that airs on the Salem Radio Network.